Greetings! Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we discuss various aspects of the paranormal and paranormal exploration. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the founder of New England Anomalies Research. My usual co-host is here. Sandra is here. She just happens to be in the control booth tonight. So, hello, Sandra, back there. She's waving. She's waving. So this evening, we have a very, very interesting guest with us, who I'm sure you'll love to meet. He has some very, very captivating stories. He is an author and a paranormal researcher, a musician, and an actor as well. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Jason J. Tavares.
How you doing?
How you doing, Jason?
Good.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Very, very glad to have you. So you've had a lot of experiences that most people don't have.
Yeah, they kind of just fall into my lap.
Yes. I know you do a great deal of traveling, and
yeah.
that helps going to these various locations, but most people have maybe one or two experiences, and you've had quite a few more than that.
Yeah, it's nice that I can speak to you about these things, because like when you're bringing up an ordinary conversation, people start to think that you're unordinary, but in a bad way. Like, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. It's sometimes too much, but I'm glad you understand. That's great.
Oh, yeah. Here you will find a lot of understanding, because we know these things do occur. It is truthful. It is out there. So,
and we live in New England. I mean,
yes. Yeah, what better place than New England?
It's kind of the heart of it, right?
So I've got some excellent questions for you, because you have some excellent experiences.
Cool.
And here's one of your books, my latest read. See? And could you tell us about this book, The Shadow Inside?
Well, The Shadow Inside, I wrote it in 06, 07, and it came out in 08. And it's about a kid in Providence that sees shadows, and they notice him noticing them. Mm-hmm. So he goes on an extraordinary, I should say, adventure to kind of deal with everything that he sees and that notices him.
Yes.
It's fiction, of course. So.
Yes, but actually the shadow people that he deals with are interactive.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of a loner in this, because he's perceiving these things, whereas most people do not. And of course, there's the diagnosis of schizophrenia and everything like that. And it's interesting that there's a theory that people who do deal with the struggle of schizophrenia, that doesn't mean that what they're experiencing is necessarily just in their mind or their senses. I mean, they could be extra sensitive and really perceiving something that is there.
Like, imagine how much stuff people went through, just 100 years ago, which isn't a lot of time, or a long period of time, and they couldn't even mention things that they saw because you'd be locked away. Mm-hmm. Like Ladd School. Yes. For instance, that was a place, if you saw something you weren't supposed to and spoke of it, you'd get sent there. So
exactly.
There's a lot of stories that are probably untold.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Throughout the ages.
And of course, the setting of The Shadow Inside is Rhode Island. It's a local setting, which appeals to me greatly. Yeah, I
try to get, out of all three books, I always try to have them touch in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. Either start here or come back here, or at least they're tied to the state somehow.
Well, if Stephen King has so many settings in Maine, you can do Rhode Island,
right?
That's
true, yeah. That's true. He's got me beat by about 100 books, but, hopefully one day I catch up.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah. So, have you had experience with perceiving shadow people? Because that is a whole genre in itself, the phenomenon of shadow people, which is very much a reality. Mm-hmm. Very, very much a reality.
Seeing dark figures, like I have, they've never done anything bad. I can't say I heard them running, like in the book, or anything creepy like that, with a pitter-pattering of the feet that I mentioned at the house that Nicholas was at when he was locked up, but nothing to that extent. But in my own house where I live, I've had shadows cast on the wall where there's not really a place for it. Like, you'll see a solid figure, like, especially when I watch television. Yes. It's not like my TV's that huge or bright that it's going to make your eyes have to readjust. But I'll be sitting there even with my girlfriend, and I kind of get her attention, and I look over, and you can see something dark near the doorway. Mm-hmm. And then, a couple minutes later, it starts to fade. And she said when she's alone, she's seen it. And I said, yeah, it's kind of, looks like it's looking in at you watching TV. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do anything, but it's kind of scary.
Well, yeah, I think it's kind of intrusive.
Yeah,
it
is.
A human-like shadow figure there. And my wife, Sandra, of course, has often told the story of her original experience with a shadow figure, which she was not even aware of it. She was sleeping, and this is before I met and married Sandra, but she was sleeping, and a family member happened to walk by the bedroom, and there's this about 6-foot-tall shadow figure standing over her, peering down at her. No facial features, but obviously looking down at her. And the family member didn't bring it to her attention until a couple of days afterwards. By the way, I saw something, and I guess he was too disturbed to actually talk about it.
That scare rattles a lot of people.
Yes.
It really
yes,
does.
Indeed. And these figures seem to have an intelligence. Of course, in the story, The Shadow Inside, they're very interactive. And sometimes shadow figures are interactive.
Those there could be violent, some are good, but you don't really know their intention. So it's a lot like people.
Right.
It's like dealing with people. They're just a different form of people.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, you've investigated the St. Augustine Lighthouse in Florida.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about that? Because that's been on TV.
Oh yeah, that was a great place to visit. I'm a little scared of heights. Sometimes some days are worse than others. I think it's 240 feet, but when you're going up the stairs there,
yes,
and even when you get to the top, it's only at 240 feet. You're looking over. You have a railing there. There's a weird sense you're being pulled over the railing. At least I got it.
Really?
Like not pushed or touched.
Yeah, but it's like
I got up
kind
there.
Of inertia or something.
Yeah, it felt really weird. My friend said to me, he goes, "Oh, you don't look too good." And I said, "Yeah, I feel like I'm being pulled over the edge." But then part of it could be being scared of heights. But I guess somebody fell one time.
Yes.
That was the story, and I guess maybe that person was up there. You never know. And maybe they can pick up that you kind of believe in them, so they make their presence known to some extent.
I don't know if I'd any longer have the breath to be able to make all those stairs.
Yeah, it's a lot of stairs, but it's the height too, I guess, with the wind and everything.
Yeah,
so.
it does change your perception.
Yeah, as I get older, I guess I get more scared of heights.
Well, the ground's always there, and it gets harder and harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my friend, of course, Brian Hanwha, he went there during the episode of Ghost Hunters. He was there, and he had some freaky experiences there.
Oh, he did too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. Even walking through the woods, it's like an odd feeling.
That whole area.
Yeah.
That whole area. And I know you've been to so many interesting places. How about the Las Vegas haunted tour?
That was kind of cool. I went on that in 2007. It was only a 3-hour tour. Kind of like Gilligan's Island, 3-hour tour.
Right, a 3-hour tour, right.
But we weren't in a boat.
But you did come back from it.
I did come back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there. We went on the Vegas tour. It's a little 3-hour haunted Vegas tour. They take you to Red Fox's house. He was the star of
Sanford and Son.
Yeah. Where Tupac Shakur was shot. You go to a point at the Needle. That's in Vegas, where a guy actually committed suicide off the Needle, and it's a 1,300-foot drop. And they said that area is haunted.
Wow.
And then we went to a playground, I guess, where some kids were taken or murdered there. I'm not sure the exact story, but everyone picks up orbs from that area. So everybody that was on the tour group and the bus is all snapping pictures there.
Yes.
But then all the flashes are making orbs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
so I mean, but I don't know the validity of that story, but it's still kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think they took us to another spot too. I just can't remember. I think actually there was a hotel they took us to. The name of the hotel I can't remember, but in the 80s there was an explosion and it cooked everybody in the hotel while they were eating.
Wow.
So they were all just like corpses, just sitting there with forks in their hands and everything.
Oh, wow.
So they took us to that area too. I thought that was kind of frightening. They didn't take us in the hotel, but they did explain the story.
Yeah, that's very.
Oh yeah, it's kind of scary
very macabre, something like that.
Especially expect it. I mean, it was just a gas and it just blew everybody in the building apart.
I never knew. I guess they never knew what happened.
Never knew it was coming. Yeah. I think that was 81, 82, around that.
Wow. I didn't realize Las Vegas had many sites that are considered haunted.
Yeah, and to have
I mean, it makes
ghost tour,
sense when you think about it. But
oh yeah, it's a huge place. But I never expected a ghost tour. I saw it and I was like, oh, we've done everything else. Let's jump on that too.
Yes, right.
Why not?
Now, what about the Point Pleasant Mothman? Sandra and I have been there.
Have you? Oh.
Yes, we didn't see the Mothman. We saw the statue.
Oh, yeah, the statue's amazing, huh?
Yes.
I've only been there 3 times, and it's always driving back. I lived out west twice. Well, I lived out west once for a long time, once for a short period of time. But I always stop in Point Pleasant on the way back, and it's a cool little town.
Yeah. We have a photo where we're by the statue, and this big gust of wind came along. It was a very, very windy day, but this big gust of wind came along, and so in the picture, because I weigh more than Sandra does, so I'm standing my ground, my hair blowing, and Sandra's like halfway off the ground because she got blown right over, right by the statue there.
Now, the statue you saw, they only have one. Have they changed it? It's still the metal statue? Because I was going to bring the picture. I took it off the wall. I have a little picture that's similar to the size of this one. And I took it off the wall, and I said, that's not a ghost. I shouldn't bring it. I should have brought it.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to
That's always an interesting story.
Oh, yeah, it's such a cool, it's 9 feet, too, 9-foot statue.
Wow.
It proves the town really believes in what took place.
Yeah.
What was that, December 15th, 1967?
Yes, yeah. Very, very eerie. But, of course, you've also been to Europe. You've had the opportunity to investigate in Europe. And please tell us about some of the locations in England.
England, I went on through Tours of Terror. It's a little tour group in Connecticut. Yeah. And I went first to Romania, which I kind of like to tie back to the shadow inside.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I hold the picture?
Yes, please do. That's a very interesting picture.
See it with the glare.
Explain that. But,
the photo is here, and then the blown-up version of the photo is on top. But you can see the black figure of a woman in the background here and there. I took the picture. The couple here was getting married in Transylvania.
Yeah.
On the tour group.
Can I see that moment?
Yeah, sure. And I snapped a picture with a disposable camera that I bought at just a regular store.
Nothing fancy, just a
little
disposable.
junk camera. Yeah, I always take, like, back then I didn't have a camera on my phone. I didn't really break into technology until about 2003.
That's a good point that we make, though, that you don't need to break the bank to. You see the TV shows; they've got all the expensive gadgets and everything, which it looks good on camera, but you don't really need to break the bank. I mean, you captured this with a disposable camera, and that's.
It was frightening because I snapped the picture.
And there was nothing there when you snapped the picture.
Not a thing, no, but I focused on them. I must have taken 20 to 25 pictures that day in that that particular cemetery.
Get a good look at it here, see?
And the exact city we were in, I don't know, but it's where Vlad the Impaler's family, that was the real-life Dracula in Romania.
Right, exactly.
Supposedly was buried.
Yeah.
And I came back, I'm at CVS getting it developed, and a lady called me up to the counter in 2004, and she goes, "You just came back from Europe?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "What's this?" And I was like, I don't know. And I've had it on the wall ever since. Everybody who comes over says the same thing. Oh, my God.
Do you realize how many investigators would love to have a catch like that?
I've never emailed it to anybody except for one person, my friend who couldn't make it on the tour. I emailed it to her, and I don't think she ever went public with it. Right. She lives out in New York. But, yeah, I saw it, and you always see things that are blurry.
Yes.
Like, I got a picture of Bigfoot, and it's a big blur. That right there is not blurry.
No, that looks actually solid. And talking about your shadow figures, there's an actual example of one right there. So excellent catch.
And it's funny, there was a real goth girl on the tour, and everybody said, "Oh, that's her," because she used to wear all black.
Yes.
And I said she was standing next to me when I took it.
Oh, yes, right.
People were like, "Oh, geez." So
amazing. That's amazing. So you've investigated in Canada too, right?
Yeah, I went up for the Magog sea monster. I didn't see anything, but I brought lunch and stuff and food. It's like a 400-mile drive. And I like Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that as well. But that was, I think, 02, maybe 02, 03 time frame. I haven't been up there since, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. You're only a little bit into Canada, and nobody speaks English.
Really?
It's like I couldn't find one person that spoke English. And you're only, I think 100 miles over the border, 50 miles.
Really?
Something like that.
I didn't realize that.
Actually, the English, or English, kind of shuts off at the top of Vermont.
Yeah.
And then you get into Canada, and it's just, you think there'd be more Americans up there.
Of course, we have American English, so, right.
And I was looking for someone to speak English to give me directions, and that wasn't happening. Maybe it was just the people I went to.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. I have to remember that if I ever go there.
You didn't need a passport then either.
Really?
Yeah, now you do to go to Canada, so.
I don't know if you realize, we have a legendary sea creature right local to us in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Come on.
It's just... I think that I've heard all of it. Nobody talks about it, and then a number of years will go by, and somebody will mention that they've seen it.
Like in a pond or in the ocean?
It's actually in the waters off Oakland Beach in Connecticut.
Come on.
I've never seen it, but I've heard the stories.
Good place to investigate, huh?
Yeah, people swear they see this, and it goes by. affectionately nicknamed it Okey Pokey after Oakland Beach.
Now, was it something with a long serpent's neck?
Yeah. It's kind of stereotypical, long serpentine neck and huge.
What was that, a
dark...
plesiosaurus?
Yes, yeah.
I wonder how that would survive in the cold weathers here.
Well, it meets the description, and I don't see how it would survive in those waters, but I mean, I keep hearing about it. Every once in a while, you think nobody else will talk about it, then somebody else comes up with another story.
Wow, I'd love to see that. That'd be cool.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you will, knowing your luck.
Oh, knowing me, yeah. I'll just
Right.
go there by driving through and, you never know.
So you have a picture from Roswell here, huh?
Yep. The validity of this picture, that one right there,
Yes.
the one from Romania, I couldn't find anything more, unbelievable than that. I think this was just
That's
luck.
amazing, yeah.
I was driving in the car with a friend. My friend was driving, and I actually, I said, "Oh, let's see if we see a spaceship."
Yeah.
And I'm in Roswell only for about an hour and a half, so it's probably most likely not a spaceship. But it was the only cloud in the sky, for as far as you can see. So we pulled up and stopped the car, and the cloud was still moving, but it's the only cloud that day.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of strange,
Yep.
So I kept the picture, put it on my basement wall where I work out. So
That is kind of very interesting that is the only cloud.
yeah, real beautiful day, perfect weather,
Yeah. And there's this one cloud?
one cloud.
Well, maybe it was concealing something.
Maybe. I figures I'd see it though.
I think of that in Scripture during the ascension of Jesus after his resurrection, when he was with his disciples, and he rose up and Scripture says he was taken up in a cloud. I often wonder if that was perhaps a celestial chariot,
Oh, you
an
never know.
angelic vehicle that may have taken the
Well, the
Lord.
writings too are, they were reinterpreted over time.
Yes.
So you never know what he really meant to say that was interpreted into
Yes.
what people want to hear today to some
Exactly.
extent.
Yeah. And what picture do you have there? That's an interesting
Yeah, this one actually too.
action
this was,
shot. That's an action shot.
Yeah, my friend, this was actually taken with a digital camera, and we were up in Salem. It was me, her, and her boyfriend, which was my good buddy. And
Can I see that?
yeah, sure. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
And she gave me her camera and said, "Oh, take my picture." When I snapped the picture, her umbrella snapped the other direction, as you can see there.
Yeah.
Because the wind picked up. We're in the graveyard behind the Wax Museum, for those that have been there in Salem.
That is really an action shot. You caught the moment.
Oh, yeah, and the orbs, if you look at it, it looks like something like a bird almost. You see a tail, you can
Yeah.
see like...
Yeah.
It could just be lighting, but it was night, and to have that many orbs, they're not like bubble orbs. It actually looks like something.
And it's with a flash, right?
Oh, yeah, just a small digital camera she had.
Yeah, and it's really
I think that was 5 years ago.
reflecting off whatever kind of mist that is, and it does seem to have substance.
It does, and he called me actually a week later. He goes, "Hey, go upstairs, check your computer." And I opened it. I was like, wow. I said, that's something.
Wow.
Really scary stuff.
It is very, very interesting.
Oh, definitely.
Well, let's get into your next
okay.
book there.
Existence, The Tale of a Fanged Killer. It's about a vampire in Warwick, Rhode Island. I wrote this.
Close to home again.
Oh, yeah, this one here really hits home because this, out of the three, I love all three of them, but Existence is the closest to me because the Orrin Cottage, which is the character, is really me. I just put
Okay.
myself in this fictional story. I'm not a vampire, but...
That's good, but it's good to put yourself, immerse yourself into it.
Oh, it makes the story easier to write because,
Yeah.
you kind of use all
Are
your own
you
beliefs.
familiar with local legends of vampires in Rhode Island?
Oh, well, Mercy Brown?
Yes, Mercy
Yeah.
Brown, the most famous one.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the tuberculosis. It wasn't...
Right,
but
right. It wasn't actual vampirism, but
Well,
the
for
way
visitors, they love it.
yeah, the way people reacted, through their folklore, because medical science gave no hope for a cure or explanation, so people turned to folklore.
Her grave's been stolen. They actually have a cement can
Yeah.
behind it. It's been stolen 3 times, I guess, last time I checked.
Yeah, people do want to take it for keepsakes, and last time it got returned with no questions asked. I believe so, but it is bolted in
They
there
put
now.
that steel bar around
Yes,
it with a
right,
cement
right,
can. That's
yeah.
good it's there. I'm glad
Yeah.
no one's tried to take it since.
Right.
And then the last book is Broken Tracks Beneath Forgotten Windows. It's about a story about a guy who's trapped in fiction. So it's kind of a very in-depth story. It's 8,000-word chapters for 14 chapters.
Oh.
So it gets you into the story, keeps you in the story, and then it gives you a pretty dynamic ending like the other two.
Now, how is he trapped in fiction?
You have to read it. I can't tell you.
Okay, all right. That's good. Yes, yeah. That's kind of captivating that he's trapped in fiction.
Yeah, he ends up getting in there and he can't get out, and it's just something just through regular life, it ended up almost like osmosis. It just
Yes.
He ended up there. Like, things happen in your life. Like, geez, how did this happen?
Yes.
That's what happened to James Threadwelley in the story.
Now, speaking of close to home, of course, you are an avid fan and admirer of H.P. Lovecraft, Howard Phillips
Absolutely.
Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Of course, as you know, is my second cousin.
Yeah.
I never knew the man. He passed in 1937, but tell me some of the experiences you've had investigating H.P. Lovecraft and his stories.
I went to Swan Point. I've been to the grave, like a lot of
Yes.
people have. But actually investigating him, I've never done. But I have read, pretty in depth about him and about Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
And it's just, I had my show last night, and I actually brought it up with the two guests I had on there. Those guys are huge today, and it's so sad that they couldn't have had
Yes.
some type of notoriety in their time.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Lovecraft thought he was a dismal failure and that he'd just be
Isn't that
forgotten.
something,
And of course, he died in poverty, unfortunately.
And he was the motivation for Stephen King.
Yes. Yes,
So-
indeed.
If he could look in on his life now, he'd be very proud.
Yes, yes, he would.
Got a lot done.
And he himself was, he called himself a scientific materialist,
Mm-hmm.
a rationalist, that he really, despite his mythos, he created the Cthulhu mythos, he himself was really not that much of a believer in the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did have a superstitious side, but he himself, he considered himself a rationalist and did not really believe in ghosts and the preternatural realm. But yeah, if only he could see
Yeah.
what happened.
Edgar Allan Poe, too, from what I've read on a lot of different
Yeah, well,
books
that's
and
my next
stories,
question. You've done some investigating about Edgar Allan Poe, and
Oh, yeah.
you've actually been to his burial site.
Yep, been to his bar. Well, not his bar, but the Poe's Pub.
Yeah,
Yep, down in Richmond.
yeah,
It's the same person in the picture there, her boyfriend,
really.
in the orb picture.
Uh-huh.
I go down there to visit them, and yeah, we hung out, and they took me all around Richmond, and I got to go to Edgar Allan Poe's house.
Oh
They
yeah, well,
had,
tell me about that. I've seen a picture
Small
of it.
bed. The beds were so tiny back then.
Oh, really?
I mean, I remember looking at the bed and thinking, I'm not a very tall guy myself, but I was like, A, people were small,
Mm-hmm.
and then B, if you had back problems, they'd be worse back then because the mattresses were like this thin, and
Oh yeah.
they had this little bed and a little house in Richmond, and yeah, it's just it's interesting how much he believed in himself.
Yeah.
And how he was shunned by so many, and he had a lot of failures in his life and stuff, and hopefully that's
Yeah.
not what led to his ending, but because
Right.
there's a lot of variations of his actual death.
What I admire about Poe is his fortitude. I mean, yes, he had the tragedies and the substance abuse, the alcoholism, and yet somehow he persevered and wrote these wonderful poems and stories, and very, very sensitive to criticism. I guess he was known to have challenged a number of editors to duels. They criticized him too much. But when you were there in his house and his near his burial spot and everything, and the Poe's bar and everything, how did that feel to you? Did you really get a sense of the man himself while you were there? Is that sense, or
Not really a sense of him in any way like that, but it was interesting to be there, and you just wondered about his struggles.
yes?
I mean, like, this is where he lived, he wrote, and you picture at least in my head when I was, because the town is totally different today,
Yeah.
but I pictured it being this dark town
Yes.
with only like lanterns, and you have these ambitions to get somewhere, and you don't know of anything today,
Right.
but at the same time, this is what you're forced to live in. And
Yes.
you're writing, would they use oil? I mean, the ink wells back
Yes.
then?
Yes. Yeah.
So we don't realize how good we have it today.
Right. Right. Exactly.
But those are the kind of thoughts that went through my head when I was
Yeah.
there.
And of course, he courted the poetess Sarah Helen Whitman, who's buried in North Burial Ground. And I don't know if you've heard recently, sadly, a few days ago, there was an incredible amount of vandalism done there.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody came in and nobody knows who, I don't think. I don't know if the local police have any leads, but incredible amount of vandalism in North
That's
Burial
terrible.
Ground. And you think some of the burials, they date back to the 17th century. The 1600s. You have people there. You have our forefathers, and there's a woman who was a slave, and but obviously she was a very, very respected servant at the time too, because she was given this honored burial. And I have family buried there, I haven't gone to check it out. I don't think I really want to see the vandalism, but that's something that always gets to me, and we talk about this a lot, that, vandalism, it's wonderful capturing the wonderful things you've had and your experiences, but some people just go there, and people wonder why these cemeteries are haunted. I don't think it's because of the people buried there. I think it's because of the negative energy introduced.
Well, it's human weakness.
Yes.
And it's easier to be weak than strong.
Very good.
That's what I believe. I mean, it's easier to cower to somebody else or to fit in with a group, and if you don't want, even if you don't want to, to try to be unseen.
Right.
Right. I kind of learned that I'm a big mouth, and I'm going to have to just remain one.
Well, I think that's the way. So what's up ahead for you? What's up ahead for Jason?
Well, I actually wrote another book that I'm not going to publish until I find a way to really get it out there. But it's a book of short stories, and I'm going to try to make it an audio book. That way,
good.
Maybe it'll be all different voices for all the stories.
Because you do have a fine speaking voice.
Oh, not my voice. Oh, thank you, though. I appreciate it. But I'm going to definitely have if I could get as I know how the audio books are set up, you have to choose a voice and then format the book to that and everything. So I'm still doing research on that. The book is done, but that's just the means I want to go to between that, ebooks and paperback. So if somebody doesn't have time to read a whole book, you can read a 5,000 to 7,000 word story or listen to it, and it's a lot faster, and you still get something out of it, and you can always go back to it.
So if somebody wants to find you, find some of your acting experiences and music and your books, what's the best way to reach you?
I think the easiest is just my name, Jason J. Tavares. Put that on Google search, and you can find the Facebook page. Books are on Amazon, and films are on YouTube.
Okay. Now, our last remaining couple of minutes, tell me about your show that you do.
Okay. Well, you were a great guest on the show. Thanks again for being on.
Thank you very much. It was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it was a good time. I've been lucky with the show. I actually came here to get on a show, and I left, as you know, the shadow inside here that ended up in your hands. So I got invited on your show, and then I ended up getting you on my show. And then I went to the studio in Pawtucket, and I was looking to see if I could get on a show there. And they asked me, would you like to do your own show? And I said, I've never thought of that before. So I'm on 4 episodes so far. I've been doing 1 a month since January. And I'll have another guest for next month. And so far, it's going great.
Oh, good. Good.
And it's a good show, not only for myself, but it's for right-brained people.
Writers,
the
title of your
actors.
show is for...
anyone who, even if you make things out of ceramics, anything you do that's right-brained, you're welcome to be a guest.
I think that's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It's very good. And just to inject a little bit of humor here, I have this list. Sometimes people send us submissions about you may be a paranormal investigator if. And here's just a couple I'll share with you.
Okay.
You know you're a paranormal investigator when you beg to have stuff thrown at you. Can you relate?
Oh, yeah. You like creepy stuff?
Right. And this one is shared from Ron Mayers, his Facebook page. You know you're a real paranormal investigator when someone shows you all their orb pictures and all you can say is, nice dust collection.
It's not enough for you.
Right.
You got to see more.
Which your picture is obviously not dust. It's, So anybody who would like from our studio audience to come down, if you'd like to come down here and meet Jason J. Tavares in person, and I see a great future for you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, you have so much experience that a lot of people would give so much to have.
Oh, I appreciate it.
You know, so I hope you come back again on our show.
Oh, definitely.
Because you always have new experiences, and you're traveling, and...
I'd like to thank you for your help, too. I mean, you've been plugging me in.
Oh, sure, anytime, anytime.
Show. Thank you very much.
It's a really cool guy, really. You know, it's great to know you. Great to know you. And a little shout out to my friends from Swamp Meadow Theater, my fellow cast members. Remember this? And I have to do it once more. Where's the rat? That's one of my lines, classic lines.
That's one of your lines, though, huh?
Yes, except it was a lot louder on stage.
Nice.
I don't want to do it in here, but it was a lot louder.
It's very loud and shrill.
Well, thank you, studio audience, and thank you, all our viewers. We will be back again very soon. We'll see you next month. Take care. God bless. And then just chat, get to know each other.
That went really well.
Yeah, it did.